Our friendly neighborhood Black Widow gets a much-needed, self-imposed Europe vacation and a fun family reunion. Just normal things for your average Natasha Romanoff, a superwoman with a wide set of special skills, a former spy, and now, officially an Avenger. Or so we thought. For our Avengers, this is obviously not a fun getaway to Europe or a round-trip vacation. Being the controversial person that she is, Natasha gets embroiled in some disastrous conspiracy theories and gets the blame pointed at her by none other than the American government. To get away from all of it, and also possibly blow off some steam, Natasha does what she does best, run away without a trace. This time, she runs away far too close to home. Now a fugitive, Natasha throws all of her bling away and ships herself off on a boat to Norway. There, she meets Rick Mason, her very special private shopper. He gets her a decent RV and 20 identities. You know, just something a normal girl would ask of her own personal shopper. However, just hours after Rick leaves her, the RV runs out of fuel, leaving Natasha with no power. To pass the time, and also to catch up on her junk mail and packages, she gets up and drives her truck to town. Unknowingly, she brings with her a very important package from Yelena Belova, her sister, with a substance called red dust. This red dust is an antidote, designed to save the widows from the Red Room's forced control over them. Because of this, Natasha gets to be targeted by the Taskmaster, a super soldier from the Red Room that can mimic anyone it gets in a fight with. She manages to get off of the Taskmaster's trail, just ever so slightly, and takes the package of red dust with her. Later on, she discovers that it came from Yelena. Natasha rushes straight to her apartment in Budapest. At first, it's like she's just moving from one safe house to another, but she meets her sister Yelena there. Yelena and Natasha were children specially selected by the Soviet operatives, masterminds for the Black Widow project. They were banded together with Alexei Shostakov and former Black Widow Melina Vostokov for a special mission in Ohio in 1995. After their success, they hastily went back to the USSR, where they were separated, and the sisters were shipped off to Drakov to be trained as child soldiers. After a bit of reminiscing, or rather, roundhouse kicking each other and aiming weapons at each other's faces, Yelena explains that during a mission for Drakov, she accidentally offed one of the former Black Widows, Oksana. She was carrying a case of red dust. Before she passed, Oksana managed to throw the red dust to Yelena, freeing her from the brutal mind control of the Red Room. In disbelief, Natasha tells Yelena that she is sure that Drakov has already been eliminated. It simply isn't possible that he's still alive after all she has done. During her mission and stint with Clint Barton in Budapest, they were able to blast off Drakov's whereabouts and ultimately end his life, together with his daughter Antonia. Eliminating Drakov was Natasha's last mission to be able to officially join S.H.I.E.L.D. Yelena confronts Natasha about that particular mission and insists that she may have slipped and was not really able to eliminate Drakov's threat. As they quarrel about it more, an army of Black Widows ambush their Budapest apartment. While escaping, Natasha confirms Yelena's protestations about her mission and realizes that they may be into something much deeper than just handing off the red dust. There is something larger and more sinister at play here. Again, they barely escape the Taskmaster and are able to meet up with Rick Mason. They escape with an old Soviet airship to break out their dad, Alexei. During their journey to the Russian prison where Alexei is kept, they arrive at the prison and try to break Alexei out discreetly. However, Alexei, being the proud Red Guardian, can't really help himself and makes a commotion out of it by punching a few of the prison guards and letting other prisoners out. An avalanche and a daring rescue later, they are now reunited and bantering again inside a beat-up aircraft. Natasha asks, straight to the point, if Alexei knows the Red Room's headquarters, but he confesses that he knows nothing about it. After their mission's completion in 1995, he is shipped off to the prison by Drakov and kept out of circulation. However, he does know their mother's whereabouts, former Black Widow Melina. They then crash land just shy of St. Petersburg at a farm in Russia. There, they find Melina and her pigs. Melina, just like old times, welcomes them in with a Gatling gun in hand. They try to have a meal together like an old family. Yelena eats gratefully, unknowingly. Alexei suits up with the old Red Guardian suit, and miraculously still fits into it. Melina confesses that she never really washed it since 1995. He tried to reminisce more on their time together as a family in Ohio, being very affectionate with Melina, and Melina reciprocating it. However, Natasha breaks the atmosphere by confronting both of them and urging them to stop playing pretend. Melina explains what really happened in Ohio, that they were not really this little happy family, but they were an undercover family that worked for S.H.I.E.L.D. They worked together with other undercover agents, mostly Hydra scientists working undercover under S.H.I.E.L.D. They wanted to refine the very chemical that kept Yelena submissive to Drakov and the Red Room for so many years. This news ultimately, and understandably, breaks Yelena, and she storms out of the room. Alexei follows her and comforts her. He and Melina confess to Yelena and Natasha that they knew they weren't a real family, but they were also desperately wishing that. Unfortunately, before this realization, Melina has already ticked off their location to Drakov. Melina knocks off Natasha on the floor, and Alexei gets shot by tons of tranquilizers, in the act of shielding his daughter Yelena. They are taken away to a far-off destination, revealing that the Red Room is located on an aerial space station, far over Earth. This explains why Dreykov was never sighted again after Natasha's mission. He was never found anywhere on Earth, because he was always looming over it. Natasha and Alexei are kept in prison cells, and Yelena is set to be lobotomized at an operation table to check the effects of the red dust over her. Dreykov, on the other hand, talks to Melina and congratulates her for locating an Avenger and a deserter, Natasha and Yelena, respectively. However, it is later revealed that Dreykov is actually walking into a carefully planned plot by Melina. Using one of her developed technologies, Melina changed her facial features with those of Natasha, along with exchanging their suits. They have planned their own capture. Melina wakes up in the prison cell adjacent to Alexei's and reveals to him that she is not Natasha, but herself. This stops Alexei midway into his long apology to Natasha. Melina explains to Alexei their plan, and then proceeds to call Yelena through an earpiece. Yelena escapes the operating room just in time, and moves to find the room where all the other Black Widows are. Back to Dreykov and Natasha. Natasha learns that she did not only fail her mission of eliminating Dreykov, but also reveals that the Taskmaster is actually Dreykov's daughter, Antonia. He forced his daughter to serve by turning her into a submissive cyborg-like soldier, through a chip on her head. Natasha learns that she cannot attack Dreykov because of a pheromone that protects him from any attacks. He then proceeds to control his daughter again, and commands her to find Melina and eliminate her. Pushing off with their plan, Melina sabotages the space station's engine to crash land it to Earth. The Taskmaster later finds her, and they battle it out. Natasha manages to destroy her nasal passage, and is finally able to attack Dreykov. However, he very narrowly escapes by commanding an army of Black Widows to attack Natasha. Just in time, too, as Yelena throws a bundle of red dust to the Black Widows attacking Natasha, and they stop ganging up on her. They both run far away and free the remaining Black Widows, and tell them to run far away from the Red Room. As the space station crew starts to crumble and fall back to Earth, Dreykov's remaining allies manage to command an aircraft to ferry them away to safety. Luckily, Yelena is able to jump onto the vehicle, right before Dreykov is able to see her. While Dreykov is inside, Yelena, in an attempt to do a heroic fun thing before her life ends, pierces the propeller and manages to explode the whole aircraft. She jumps out of the plane. Natasha sees her and hurriedly takes a parachute to save her sister. They both fall to Earth safely. Alexei and Melina man an aircraft too, and barely manage to survive. Back on Earth, just as Natasha thinks everything was over, Dreykov's daughter Antonia, clad in the Taskmaster's suit, is still out to fulfill her father's last command. She takes on the battle with Natasha, and they fight to their limits. Natasha manages to paralyze her enough to dismantle her suit and take the chip from the back of her head, finally freeing her from the shackles of her father. Natasha finally gets to apologize to her for putting her into lifelong servitude to her evil father. Antonia responds only by asking if her father is no more. She is relieved to know that Dreykov is now gone. Exhausted from everything, Natasha finally catches a breath. Alexei comes, with a limping Melina by his side. They are reunited once again with Yelena. Natasha has a touching moment with her, before taking on Antonia, and finally admitting to her sister that it was real for her too. With Alexei in his ridiculous red suit, Melinda with her overdrawn black eyeliner, Yelena with her jacket full of pockets, and Natasha in her signature Black Widow suit, they make a pretty good, albeit dysfunctional, family. Yes, a family. They are later joined by the rest of the Black Widows, arriving, of course, in the coolest fashion, from an aircraft stolen from the Red Room. Together, they welcome back Yelena and coax her to help find all of the other widows in the world. Natasha hands her the database that she took from Dreykov's desk before fighting off the widows earlier. Yelena joins the widows, hand in hand, and they also take Antonia with them. Alexei and Melina get to spend the rest of their lives reunited. Natasha goes back to her other family, the Avengers, and tries to patch the rip that has pulled them apart. She flies back 2 weeks later with new hair and Yelena's cool jacket with pockets to meet her trusty old private shopper, Rick Mason. With enough time and money, Rick finally gives her the badass plane that she wanted, a brand spanking new Quinjet. All is right in Natasha's world again, new hair, new suit, new Quinjet, and most especially, her renewed faith in her humanity. She's all pumped up as she sets off to have another long-awaited family reunion.